spiritualism. New discoveries beneath these ancient temples are revealing that the ancients combined technology with religion to create an occult underworld beneath the Earth's surface. The story begins in ancient Mexico with the mysterious civilization of the Mayans.
It's easy to think that the occult is just myths and fiction, but when you start to apply archaeology and science, you can really get to the truth and the nuggets of real fact that underlie all of them.
In 600 AD, at a time when the once great cities of Europe were in decline, the ancient city of Chichen Itza was in its ascendancy. Temples were aligned with the solar system, using an advanced understanding of geometry and astronomy. They reached for the stars, the abode of the sun god, and countless other deities. But other gods lived in the darkness underground, the gods of death.
We're very fortunate in that the Mayans decorated all of their temples with glyphs and inscriptions and carvings, which has given us an incredible insight into their life and culture. Even more so is a mysterious 16th century document known as the Popol Vuh.
The Popol Vuh is a sacred text transcribed in the 16th century from ancient hieroglyphs. It describes a mythical civilization, an occult underworld known as Xibalba.
Xibalba is the Mayan underworld, the place where all the souls want to get to be able to enjoy the afterlife. But the thing about Xibalba is it's not easy to get there. It's a real challenge. You've got to go through many ordeals for your soul to be able to enjoy the benefits of the afterlife.
Xibalba lives on in myth. But could it also be an actual place, hidden deep in the earth beneath us? In ancient Mayan culture, Xibalba is linked to the cenote. These are naturally occurring sinkholes, which over thousands of years have filled with rainwater.
This cenote is the source of water for the whole city of Chichen Itza. Without this, the city could not survive. It was so important that they built a sacrificial way, a sakbe, all the way through here, through the jungle, to the cenote.
Human sacrifice has been discovered in the cenote. The remains of small children and even evidence that live women were thrown in has been found by archaeologists. So could the real Xibalba be under a cenote?
Using the clues from the Mayan sacred book Popol Vuh, we can start to unravel the Mayan sacred code. But there's only one place we can really do that, and that's to explore Xibalba itself. We need to dive into a cenote.
This is what John and a team of underwater cave divers are attempting. They have traveled 70 miles west of Chichen Itza, where they are searching for evidence of this ancient underworld.
I've got to admit, this is incredibly exciting. How many people have the privilege to sort of dive and explore such an important archaeological site?
As they probe into the darkness, the team is shocked to find a level of architectural detail almost never seen before beneath the ground. They have uncovered a sakbe, the ritual roadway that connects Mayan temples and ceremonial centers. Is this evidence that this was a place of ritual sacrifice deep underground?
When we see a road like this, that's a ritual purpose, and maybe they made pilgrimages here.
The road stretches 300 feet and is built from locally quarried limestone that would have been cut into shape using stone tools. Like all Mayan architecture, its construction relied on manpower. Its layout suggests that it leads to a place of worship, where votive offerings were made to the rain god, Chalk.
This sakbe, this evidence of construction underground, is absolutely, totally unique. To spend the time to actually cut blocks, bring materials down here and lay them down means this was amazingly important for them.
This new discovery deep beneath the earth indicates that the Mayans thought this place as sacred as the temples that reached up to the heavens, and perhaps that Xibalba is not just a myth. The sacred text of the Popol Vuh describes a chamber of infernal heat. Down here in the darkness, the temperature reaches over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. There are bats everywhere. The House of Bats is one of the rooms of Xibalba.
Here we've got bats, thousands of them, flying around all the time. There's no wonder the Maya think of this as their sacred place, the road to the underworld.
The ancient Mayans brought their engineering skills to the service of religion. Opening up here at our feet is the realm of the gods of the dead.
Here we are finally in the huge body of water that all this causeway was made for. And we are right on the final steps in order to have access to the cave, which is right in front of me.
Really easy to imagine as you come down that causeway, that sacred way, just how an ancient Mayan might have felt. It's scary, especially when the bats are flying across your face and things like that. But it is exciting at the same time. And then to come down here and find this pool of incredibly clear, sweet water in a dry place such as North Yucatan, this has to be a gift from the gods. There's no other words for it.
Despite all the team has discovered, this underworld seems to stop short of what is evoked in myth. According to the sacred text of the Popol Vuh, and illustrated in the temple carvings, the way of the dead comes to a path that turns to the west, the way to the afterlife. So why is it blocked with water? Is it because the water levels in the cave have risen over the centuries? To answer this question, it's time to put on the diving gear and investigate the cave complex further. The divers discover that this is not the end of the cave system. In fact, it stretches further and further into the darkness. As they journey deeper, they discover other rooms, some with air pockets that allow them to take off their breathing apparatus. Could these be the houses of demons described in the Popol Vuh?
We enter the first room, and it's truly beautiful. It's wonderfully decorated with stalactites and stalagmites.
Stalactites and stalagmites can only form in air. This is proof that these caves were once dry and that the water table has risen. The Popol Vuh talks about the House of Knives, a room filled with blades and razors that the souls of the dead must overcome on their journey to Xibalba. Did it look like this?
Then we enter another room that has a large pocket of air, so you can walk through this part to get to a further room. You go back underwater, and as you come up again, you enter a further room. It's truly exciting. You can feel a certain energy that comes from the respect and care they showed for this place. And entering it is like being in another dimension.
These new discoveries bear an uncanny resemblance to the Xibalba described in the Popol Vuh.
It's fantastic. It's just fantastic because you get here, you just get to the end of the road to Xibalba, and right in front of it, you find a cave that goes exactly towards the west. And I'm excited about the west because this was the road to Xibalba.
The Mayans had a vision of the underworld that corresponded with a real place underground. They peopled it with gods and the souls of the dead. Our discoveries beneath the earth are further evidence of the convergence of the real and the occult in Mayan religion. Our next discovery involves the use of technology in the churches of the Middle Ages. Ancient discoveries will reveal how a life-size statue of Jesus came to life to inspire awe and veneration in worshippers of the 16th century. Religions and cults throughout the world are steeped in mystery, intensified by ritual and dark secrets. Some supposed miracles or supernatural acts have defied logic for hundreds of years. In 16th century England, a full-size wooden statue of Jesus Christ would overawe worshippers by coming to life.
It was able to frown, it was able to smile, to move arms and legs, and the whole thing must have seemed like pure magic to the congregation who were there.
The statue was known as the Holy Cross of Grace, or the Rood of Grace. It belonged to the monks of the Abbey of Boxley, a village 30 miles east of London. Word of its legends spread, and pilgrims throughout Europe traveled to the small village to become spellbound by its miraculous powers of movement.
Now remember, we're talking about a congregation who were illiterate. All they had to believe in was what the church told them to believe in. The image of a moving Christ. It must have been the most incredible, awesome experience.
The cross was situated on a screen, called a rood screen, in the middle of the church. It was the focus of worship. Behind the screen was the sanctuary, the place of mystery where the daily miracle of the transformation of bread and wine into Christ's body and blood took place.
Christ on the cross is the main focus of attention, and it allowed the medieval viewer to contemplate his suffering.
Christ's death and resurrection is at the heart of Christian belief. His agony on the cross is a powerful image. In the Middle Ages, such statues were made as lifelike as possible. At Boxley, the statue went one step further. From lifelike, it came to life. In response to a supplication or possibly a donation, Jesus would open his eyes and move his lips.
Behind me on the wall, we have painted images of heaven and hell. These were real places to a Tudor congregation. And the moving Christ made this real. If Christ smiles, you are safe. You will find salvation. You will find your way to that heaven. If Christ frowns, then hell beckons.
What caused a lifeless wooden statue to move and speak? Was a higher power at work? One that could breathe life into an inanimate object? Or was there a more human agency at work? One which sought to exploit the innocence of the faithful? To answer these questions, we go back to the eyewitness accounts of the time when the secret of the Rood of Grace was first unmasked. 16th century England was a time of immense religious upheaval, a time when men and women were prepared to kill and be killed for their faith. King Henry VIII was on the throne. He decided to break England's ties with the Church of Rome because the Pope would not grant him a divorce from his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. This shattered the unity of Western Christianity forever.
Henry VIII breaking with the Church of Rome is a big step because, and he knows it, he is the first king actually to turn against the Pope. So what he's doing is big, bold, charismatic, and all the stuff that Henry wants to be.
After breaking with Rome, Henry destroyed the monasteries to get his hands on their immense wealth. To rouse popular support, he gathered evidence of the monks' financial, sexual, and religious misdeeds. In 1538, one of his agents handed him a propaganda coup, a discovery